Sorry, kids, and I don't want to get in trouble for copyright infringement. Yeah, it's just this week. You taking over?
Yeah. No. No, if I ever did have to be speaker though, I would come prepared. I'd have counter to make judge room and turn it into
Oh,
a
that's
courtroom.
good for that. You can definitely. Okay, I'm gonna get this. Put left. I thought I already had it. Oh, I do. Okay.
We did this presentation.
Yes, we do. You're coming here to do know your rights. Stop by the police station. I'm so excited. I was like, the first one, everyone was like, you can't talk about the I was like, let's get them in here. Unreasonable search and seizure.
Which one's the best soldiers?
Quartering? Mm. No. It's embarrassing. I just got touched on it.
Is that transferred or overseas somewhere else?
No, you can't dictate overseas.
I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
That sounds very much like the imperialism we're trying to get away from these days. Oh, it's the government.
I thought that was
Okay, but consider the
oh yeah, they direct.
Do you guys know who I can talk to? Because I got an email saying that yeah, but because I've always texted Rose like, hey, like I'm not gonna make it because I have something important. So I'm like,
You forward it to me and I'll chat with her. And I'll see.
yeah, because me and Evelyn, like, I've always messaged
You
her.
guys always say something when you're online too.
Yeah,
So,
so I'm like,
and I always tell them. So
I'm like, I wonder. I mean, and I go to all like committees. I go to 2 committees. So I'm like, okay, thank you. Yeah, no problem.
that's for me.
Yay! Sorry, I forgot. I was in a hurry. I was in a hurry. Trying to get some dinner in really fast before we get going. What do you just stick it on her towel. The owl can hold it in position. Owl is Madeline's hamburger. Yeah. What did I just say about the imperialism we're trying to get away from?
I mean, no. Oh, that's bad.
Yeah.
Well, no. Maybe they just missed it. I first started like on it, so I'm like, no way.
I felt with that here, so I guess we're just, that's what we're doing, I guess.
I think I met you earlier.
I have a couple basic announcements that I am going to say, but you're not gracious.
Yeah, business. Are you business too? Oh yeah, business by.
You know, I thought about that.
Business
I
by
thought about going off and telling because I could. I've been saying in here that I have a lot I want to say.
Sick, bro.
Then be interested
What were you in for? Oh Lord. Dude, that's not fun, man. That's not fun. I was, and then
the house,
but I don't know.
Sigma house,
Yeah, so I mean,
Chester,
you
the
switch. You'll be in there.
Puff mascot.
It's the next semester. Yeah.
I think we're good.
Work on all
We have
your
all the things up, things plugged in, the clickers work.
yeah, same state, right? It's
Thank you. I
far.
just got a pencil and it's good. Actually, you're good.
Yeah, that's like around 3 minutes. That's be like the
You don't have any.
dude. I hate driving to Denver. I hate it so much. Yeah, bro. It gets bad, bro. And then like, dude, Denver is yes. Oh my god. It gets bad, bro. I think I left on Sunday at like 3-ish and I got there at 6. I expected somebody to like 6:17-ish. I made pretty good time. So I'm pretty happy with coming in now. That was like 2.5, 2:45. Yeah, 2:45.
Was it Brown?
And that's good time. That's good time. Denver wasn't too bad. You could Sunday, right? From like I hear Fridays or like the Monday traffic. So
What's happening? Just picking up random conversations.
I hate driving. That's one of my only complaints. Dude, it's bad. Like, in Pueblo, the more times that you're gonna get traffic like that, like you just feel stressed. Like,
Yeah, like 3 times now.
oh yeah, I know. I were like 7. Those are the only times you get traffic like that. But I feel like Shield's pretty bad, like every day. Like there's so many people there. Good evening, Senate. It is my honor to call to order the 17th session of the 54th Senate of the Associated Students of Colorado State University. To begin, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll now move into the CSU Land Acknowledgement Statement.
With respect that the land we are on today is a traditional and ancestral homeland for the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute nations and peoples.
This was also a site of trade, gathering, and healing for numerous other Native nations.
We recognize the indigenous peoples as original stewards of this land and all the relatives within it.
As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties nations have to their traditional homelands are renewed and reaffirmed.
CSU is a land-grant institution, and we accept that our mission must encompass access to education and inclusion.
And significantly that our founding came at a dire cost to Native nations and people whose land this university was built upon.
This acknowledgement is the education and inclusion we must practice in recognizing our institutional history, responsibility, and commitment.
The Senate will now move into the swearing in of new senators and associates. Do we have any new senators and associates who need to be sworn in? Awesome contact. You guys will just kind of stand up. Thank you.
Please repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Diana Diggs,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to defend and uphold
to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution
set forth by the Constitution
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
and rightfully perform the duties of my office
and rightfully perform the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I state your name.
I, Naomi Chuck,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to defend and uphold
to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution
set forth by the Constitution
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
by the Associated Students of Colorado State University
and will rightfully perform
and will rightfully perform
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
The Senate will now move into the beginning roll call.
Speaker Taylor.
Present.
Jennifer Reese. And I am present. Parliamentarian Camber. Present. And Kelly just walked out of the room. Senator Pardo. Laura Pardo. Oh my god. Wait, hold on. Locking in. I miss Graham. Wait, Chair! Congratulations! Chair Laura Pardo. I got it.
President.
Senator Herrera. Associate Senator Rodriguez. Present. Senator Malquire.
Present.
Senator Bushkow.
Present.
Present. Chair Miller. Present. Senator Rivera. Present. Senator Johnson.
Y'all are gonna have to excuse this. Micah Giamatti. Present. Did I get it right?
Yeah, perfect.
Hannah Craggle. Craggle. Yep. Matthew Grenier. Yes. Eric Gunsel. No. Sequoia Lee.
Present.
Here we go. Chair Myers.
Present.
Maximiliano Leggett. Last name. The person's last name. Lucero. Ian Brannock. Cole Johnson. Yoselin Rivera. How do you say it?
Yosidi.
Okay. If you cannot tell, I'm as white as a ghost. Give me a break. Lena Alvarez. Okay. Allie Barron. Okay. Adelaide. Okay. Anthony Smith. Andre Bacchini.
Yeah.
How do you say that?
Bacchini.
Morgan Snyder. Chair Snyder.
Present.
Justin Melka.
Graduated.
Odin Thomas Sorrell.
Present.
Rosalind Tapia Rodriguez.
Present.
Giovanni Aldo.
Present.
Lucas Toth.
Present.
Frankie Salazar. Nevaeh Green.
Present.
Aaron Joda.
Present.
Olivia Frisk.
Somebody chair.
Chair.
Thank
You know. Sorry, it's been a month. Give me a minute to get it other people.
That's a strike round.
Lauren Davis.
Here.
Jolicity Luna.
Here.
Jessica Gray. Haley on campus. She's going. I read her later. Goodbye. Claire Pickerel.
Here.
Ellie Lutz.
Here.
Aiden Fazy. Noah Groot. Kiera Harris.
Present.
Jared McLaughlin.
Present.
Sarah Gilmore.
Present.
All right, thanks for hanging in there. Thank you. We'll now move into the consent agenda. Do I see any dissent to the agenda? And pursuant to Article 6, Section 1, subsection F of the Senate bylaws, I would entertain a motion to table Resolution 5407 because Senator Monanti is absent tonight.
You don't need a thing to.
I make the motion.
You don't need to do that. If he's not here, we don't have to present it. It doesn't need a motion.
Technically added to the agenda though, isn't it?
If he's not here, we're not gonna see it.
Okay. Isn't that technically an edit to the agenda?
You still have to take it off the agenda.
Yeah.
If he's not here to present, we don't have to do anything formal when we get to it. We could just be like, he's not here, so we're not seeing it.
We don't have to edit the agenda if we know we're not seeing it today. When we get to that point, if the author is not present, then we're not seeing it. It doesn't, we could, we're spending more time arguing about it.
This is a very precise institution.
Regardless, Senator Monanti will be absent, and we did have a motion, I believe. Does that motion have a second?
Second.
Do I see any dissent to that motion? Excellent. That will be tabled until next week. Do I see any additional dissent to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into what? We will move into gallery input. Do we have anybody in the gallery who wishes to speak tonight? Seeing none, we'll move into the guest speaker.
I want to introduce to y'all, we have an amazing speaker this evening from Student Legal Services who could probably more adequately introduce herself. But we have an amazing presentation tonight on knowing your rights when encountering law enforcement or immigration. Give me just a second to get this set up and I'll let her introduce herself. Okay. You guys hear me okay? Cool. All right. While she's getting set up, I'll just kind of introduce myself. So my name is Allison Belfield. I'm with Student Legal Services. I will let you all know that I am fairly new to Student Legal Services. So I started on October 1st. I came from the Weld County Public Defender's Office. So I was working there for about the past 4.5 years or so. Background in political science, so a route many people take. But yeah, so that's kind of my background. We'll be covering tonight just kind of some basic know your rights information. So again, some of this stuff, to be frank, you guys may have heard before. You may know basic things, but really this is kind of a presentation to give just a framework, right? Whether that's for you, for someone that you know, communities that you engage with, right? Just to kind of get a framework to understand kind of what are the basics. Happy to do questions at the end as they come up, right? But yeah, we'll just kind of dive into it.
I noticed if you get down and go to the next one.
Cool. And I'm like weird and have a binder. So I'm gonna use it. All right. Cool. So again, meant to be a brief overview. A lot of steps you just, right, with Know Your Rights, the emphasis is going to be on safety, right? So there may be things we want in a perfect world, and then there may be things about the real world that we have to accommodate in order to protect ourselves or to protect others. And so some of this, right, is meant to kind of address how to do and be encountering law enforcement or ICE essentially in a safest way as possible. Again, whether that's you or just a community that you're a part of or others that you know. I do want to clarify, right, we have law enforcement or immigration. So law enforcement, just broadly what that is, again, very basic concept, but that includes things like the police department, right? Those are going to be kind of city enforcer, right? City organized. You then have the sheriff's office. That's going to be county based. And then you're also going to have things like, for example, Colorado State Patrol, right? They're usually doing like highway management, those kinds of things. And then immigration, right? That's a federal kind of law enforcement agency. And so that is distinctive because kind of the rules and guidelines regulating those are going to be different. So you may have different rights afforded to you based on who you're encountering. So I just want to clarify that in case police or law enforcement is confusing. Okay. All right, so some basic information, right? If you're like me, I panic every time I get pulled over, which isn't that many times, okay? But right, I always immediately start freaking out because I'm a nervous person. But critical piece, right, is just remembering to remain calm to the extent that you can, right? Take those deep breaths, those kinds of things. And at the end of the day, kind of maintaining that composure, but being quiet, right? A lot of the Know Your Rights kind of education is around like, when do you have to say anything, if at all? And so maintaining kind of that composure, but not, again, I'm an accommodating person. I think there's someone in a uniform. Again, I used to cross-examine these officers on the stand, right? Like I should be able to confront them. I immediately think I need to just open my mouth and say everything. That's not what we want to be doing, right? And then with this too, right? If you're thinking that some kind of contact is going to happen, you want to be preparing yourself for that in advance. Preparing those that you care about in advance or those that may be around you if that contact is going to happen when they're present, right? And again, you may not know, but if you live in a home with others, you can guess that if you were to be contacted, they will also potentially be around when that contact happens. And so
you want to be talking this through with them as well and being all kind of on the same page about some of these pieces of information. Okay, so some very basic stuff, right? Again, because a lot of this is around like what, if anything, do you have to say if you're contacted by either law enforcement, again, meaning kind of local police, state police, or something like ICE. You always have the right to remain silent. Okay, so you do not have to say anything. A lot of times people have, again, the impulse to be like, maybe I can talk my way out of this, or I don't know if something's going to be incriminating. And so I'm not aware that I'm sharing too much information. So you always want to take the side of caution and not overshare, right? So you have the right to remain silent. They cannot force you to answer questions and things along those lines. So if they're trying to demand information from you, you do not have to provide that information. You can refuse to answer their questions. Again, this is whether it's kind of Colorado, you know, your local police, right? Or ICE. There are exceptions, right? So we'll chat about some of that. And you will always have the right to speak to a lawyer. Again, this is largely with thinking of criminal context, right? Like someone's picked you up on a warrant, you've been arrested. Again, in an immigration context, you may not have kind of the same rights or access to a lawyer. So we can touch on that as we go on. The main piece here that is maybe different or unknown, there are laws in Colorado that do require you to provide your name and identification. If you are contacted by the police because they have probable cause to believe that you have potentially committed an offense, or again, they have a warrant for your arrest or something along those lines. So we call them kind of like stop and identify laws. And there is one in Colorado. We'll talk about some tips to know if this is a situation that applies when you are contacted by law enforcement, because it's not always. But generally, yes, in Colorado, there is a requirement that you provide your name and ID. If you don't have your ID on you, you do need to provide your birth date so they can verify your identity. Again, we'll come to kind of the immigration context in a minute too, where there's kind of some distinctions on that. Because, for example, ICE can ask you for documents. You would need, again, to provide your immigration documents if that applies to you, right? If you don't have them on you, you would certainly still need to provide them, again, the birthday information, things like that. And I guess before we get started, I'll mention Penny's back here too, who knows more of the immigration context. If I mess up, I'll look to her. Because again, my background's largely just but again, if you are contacted by ICE, for example, you do not have to provide where you're from, right? If you are legally in the United States even, right, you do not need to provide that information or answer those questions. You may need to provide your name, again, and some of that identifying information, but nothing further. Okay, so just some basics, right? There'll be a couple different contexts throughout the presentation, right? If they're at your door, right? If law enforcement's at your door, if you're stopped by law enforcement on the street, if you are pulled over in a car, right? So there are kind of some different areas that some of these things may apply to. But we're going to start with, right, if they come to your door. So to enter your home, if you are at your home, right, and police or an ICE officer comes to your door, in order to actually enter your home, right, step through that threshold, they need to have a valid warrant, either for your arrest or to search the residence. And we'll talk about different kinds of warrants. Or they need your permission. And this is why being quiet is important, right? A lot of law kind of says maybe silence is implicit acquiescence, right? Like you didn't say no, so therefore we can assume that you consented, things like that. So you don't want to have that be in dispute. If someone is coming to your door and you do not want them to enter and they don't have a valid warrant, and we'll talk about how you know if it's valid, you do not have to let them in. And so you can be saying, no, I do not consent to your entry, those kinds of things, right? So say that they walk up to your door, right? Obviously, if you're expecting law enforcement contact, you might want to be checking who's at your door, right? Don't just willy-nilly open it. If you're expecting that this might be something you're encountering, you can ask for them to identify themselves as well. Ideally, they would have, but you can ask to verify who they are. Hopefully, there's a window nearby, something beside your door, right, or a nearby window. You say, can you hold it up to the window? It will feel really silly, right? Like, again, in that moment, probably you're like, great, police are at my door. I'm nervous. Like, this isn't an easy thing to maneuver. So that's why kind of knowing this information can hopefully kind of give you a sense of calm in that moment. Because you may feel weird saying, can you go to the window and show me your ID, right? But that is what you can do, right? So they can identify themselves. And we don't want you opening the door. Again, because that may be implicit permission for them to gain entry, or there are other exceptions to this warrant requirement that mean that they can, if they see something in their line of sight that may be indicative of a criminal offense or a person they are looking for, right, and that is in plain view, they no longer necessarily need this warrant. And so opening that door may expose you to them being able to see inside your home, and have some of those exceptions trigger. So that's why you can also see down here, in limited circumstances, right? Generally, yes, a warrant is required for police to enter your home. There are exceptions, right? If someone is being actively harmed in the home and they have reason to believe that, there's exigent circumstances, emergencies, those situations where they would be able to gain entry, and legally without a warrant. So if you are fleeing from a felony and they see you run inside the door, they can go in, right? Or again, if they hear or are aware of some kind of crime being committed in the home that they believe to be occurring, or they hear you flushing all of your drugs down the toilet, right? Those kinds of things, those may be exceptions that would apply. But we're going to pretend that maybe some of those aren't happening, right? When we're talking about warrants. Okay. So for warrants, you have the right to see the warrant. So again, maybe somewhat awkwardly, or again, just it may be weird to be talking through the door, so prepare yourself for that, right? But you have the right to see that warrant before they gain entry. So you can ask them to slide it under the door, hold it up to a window, and again, we'll talk about, okay, once you're looking at the warrant, what should you be looking for? But just because they have presented you with a warrant does not now mean you do have to talk, right? Even if they have some valid basis for contacting you at this point. Does not mean you have to answer questions. You always retain the right to remain silent, whoever is at your door, whether that's local law enforcement or ICE. There are different types of warrants. Arrest is pretty obvious, right? They're there to arrest someone. A search, they are there to search the premises. And we'll talk about how you can identify which one maybe it is and whether or not, again, it's valid. I want to distinguish actually on the types of warrants. Something in the immigration context that is not a warrant is going to be your, like, warrant for an alien arrest or a detainer, or what's the word I'm looking for, Penny? An order for deportation, which is on the next slide, for removal or deportation. Those are not warrants. So if they are there saying, we have a warrant for this individual's arrest, and it is I'll move to the slide so you guys can see, an order for removal or deportation, that is not a warrant. That does not allow them to gain entry into the home. And that is because it is not signed by a judge or magistrate. It's signed by an immigration official. And so that's just something to be aware of in the immigration context, right? If that's why ICE is at the door, you don't have to let them in with that because it is not a valid warrant. It does not give them the authority to enter the home. Okay, so what to look out for in a warrant to know if it is valid? Basics. These are the ones we kind of want you looking for because they're easily identifiable. So, is it signed by a judge or magistrate? There may be a whole packet that's slid under the door or held up to the window. It's probably not going to be just one page if it's a warrant for an arrest or a search warrant, right? So make sure you can see all of the pages, and eventually there's going to be a signature, and it should indicate in type form so you can see it, right, that a judge or magistrate has signed it with their signature. And that alerts you that that may be a valid warrant. You obviously, if someone's at your door saying they have a warrant for your arrest, want to verify it's for you, right? Not someone else. Again, especially I think in certain contexts, names may be close to one another, hyphenated names, things like that. So be checking name, date of birth to confirm if they're actually at the right door, if it's you they're looking for. And again, you have the right to ask them to show you all of this information before you let them in. Address. This is important, especially for a search warrant, because the location needs to be correct. I think you've probably heard in the news where that has gone awry at times, right? They show up at the wrong door and claim they have a search warrant for that home, and they were at the wrong residence, right? So you want to be checking again that your apartment 4B, were they looking for someone in 4A? Or do they have a search warrant for 4A? Whatever it might be, right? You want to be making sure that information is correct. And for a warrant, it can't be what's called stale. So if this information that is justifying the warrant was collected in 2019 and it is like 2027 and everything has changed, again, using an example, in some circumstances that may be okay, but generally would not be, that's stale, right? That's old, bad information potentially. So it needs to be either current as of that date, recently signed, or it needs to be within the last, recent period of time. I can't give you a specific amount of time. Right, I can't give you a specific threshold because there isn't one in the law. But again, if this warrant was signed 5 years ago, it's going to be a stale warrant. And again, just want to keep emphasizing an order of removal or deportation is not a warrant. So it does not allow them to gain entry. You do not have to let them in for that reason. So these are the ones that are easily identifiable that justify a warrant. So these are the things that are easy to look at to determine if it is valid. Technically, a warrant also needs probable cause. They have to have probable cause that you are a person who has potentially committed a criminal offense, right? And that you are likely to be found in this residence to justify. That's hard for someone to determine on the fly. That's going to be a legal analysis down the road. Same with the search warrant. They need to have some kind of probable cause, some more than a hunch, right, belief that there is evidence of a criminal offense within the home, and have a reason to believe, to explain why they think it would be in that home. So that is needed, but I would say that's not something realistically you could just read and understand and know if the probable cause standard's been satisfied. So that's why we kind of advertise or advise that you look at these pieces to kind of determine if it's valid or not. Okay, so what if it's not valid, right? What if you do see it's for apartment 4A and not 4B, and you're in 4B? You can tell them that, right? This warrant's not valid. I think it might be helpful to explain to the extent that you feel comfortable. Okay, this isn't signed by a judge. This is from 5 years ago. That's not my name, right? And at the end of the day, to be frank, even if you tell them it is not a valid warrant, does not mean that they will not enter your home, right? And then there would potentially be remedies down the road. So again, a lot of this is about safety. And so expressing that you know that this is not a valid warrant is important and critical, but also keep yourself safe in that moment. If they are saying, regardless of what you have told me about this warrant, I'm entering your home and I'm arresting you or searching your house, whatever it might be, consider your safety in that moment, right? Because there may be legal remedies down the road, and you just want to keep yourself safe. If it is valid and it's an arrest warrant, what we want is the person who's named in the warrant. Again, it'll have a name on it, so if it's your name or if it's someone in that home who is there, You want them to be stepping outside the door, again, not providing a big wide expanse for them to see inside the home, all those kinds of things. But if it is a valid arrest warrant, you want that person to step outside, and then again, there'll be kind of a process from there. For a search warrant, at that point, you would allow the officers in to enter and complete the search. Something about a search warrant, it will usually include the items that they are looking for. They should be searching in areas where it would be reasonable to expect that item to be. So if they are looking for a physical set of bed sheets, they should not be searching through your computer, right? There are limitations on that search warrant, and there's a scope to it, right? Of what they can look for, and there's kind of a reasonable test as to where they can be looking for those things. Again, it's a pretty expansive, reasonableness test. But there are some obvious ones. Again, they can't be searching through your phone just because they have a warrant to be in your home. There's distinctions there. So keep those in mind. If there's a search warrant, you want to be looking at what they are allegedly there, or what they are there to actually search for. Yeah, and again, just emphasizing that even if it's not valid, they may still enter the home and complete the search or arrest the individual, or arrest you, whoever it may be, right? And that's when, in situations, again, there may be some legal remedies down the road, but in that moment, again, protecting yourself and your safety. So with that, easier said than done in these moments. Again, staying calm, staying collected, right? You don't escalate the situation. Obviously, individuals have an obligation when they're coming to your home or to arrest you or someone you love. You would hope that they are also doing the same thing. But again, we live in kind of a real world, right? We understand. But again, to protect our safety at times, we may have to be the person who maintains that calm and quiet, right? And polite kind of demeanor. You want the people in your home to also be calm, right? Because again, like we talked about with those exceptions to enter your home without a warrant, or the plain view, or there's an emergency. If everyone is freaking out and running around, right, and it seems like it's becoming a very kind of dangerous situation for the police, they may use that to justify more intrusion, right, and things along those lines. So you want to remind others around you as well, hey, stay calm, right? Again, easier said than done potentially, but something to have in your mind. Don't run and don't get false information. These are pretty important. Why? Because say that arrest warrant wasn't valid and they came in and they arrested you, but you tried to flee and you gave them a totally different name. That original arrest may not have been valid, but now you have valid criminal charges for obstruction of justice and for providing false information, right? So then there may be a criminal process that can still move forward, even if that original process wasn't valid. So we don't need to be doing that. And then also, again, for safety purposes, if you're running and fleeing, again, we all would do occasionally, right? More often than we'd like, that could be a real kind of safety concern. So don't be doing that. Definitely, again, with immigration as well, they may be able to ask you to provide your documentation. Don't be carrying around false papers or false documents, because again, that can result in additional charges and things along those lines that may just complicate the situation. So being as quiet as possible, but providing them the information they are allowed to ask you truthfully is important. I do want to talk here. Well, we'll talk a bit more about videotaping, right, and having someone videotape the interaction, because that is permitted, right? But I also want to talk here about, okay, so you do get arrested. There are some other, again, or there's a search or things along those lines. There are some other protections, I think, especially again in the immigration context in Colorado, that offer some additional protections. So I just want people to be aware of those, once an arrest has maybe occurred. So again, if you're arrested by ICE or taken into custody, I guess, by ICE, you can ask to speak with the consulate, I believe, with your consulate, right? Speak with them. You're not necessarily guaranteed the ability to speak with an attorney, but you could still ask for a list of attorneys like a low income based attorney list, things along those lines, to provide you an opportunity to speak with an attorney. In Colorado, if you are not a U.S. citizen and you are arrested, and ICE could potentially request to detain you further, if you are being released on your Colorado criminal matter, Colorado cannot detain you for an ICE hold, right? That is not but they can't extend basically their detention of you in order for immigration to potentially come pick you up. So that's, I think, a helpful thing. Not all states have that. You can't, in most state agencies, or pretty much all state agencies, can't share personal identifying information with ICE. So again, say a non-US citizen goes through a criminal process, is placed on probation, right, is being supervised through a criminal case, a Colorado probation officer cannot share that person's personal identifying information with ICE based on Colorado law. So there are some kind of additional protections built in, again, once kind of the criminal system has moved and begun. So I just wanted to flag some of those because, again, not all states would have some of those protections. And again, if someone's arrested, continue to assert your right to remain silent, right? You do not have to answer questions. So that's just kind of the main protection. And obviously, if you are arrested and are taken to jail at that point, though, again, you can assert and request a right to have a lawyer be provided to you. And again, so let me kind of offer these two distinctions, right? If you are arrested, no matter your immigration status, no matter if you're a U.S. citizen and you are going to the jail run by the sheriff's office, right? At that point, yes, you can request a lawyer, no matter your immigration status, to advise you on that criminal matter. If you are being taken into custody by ICE and are being taken to an immigration detention center, right, that is where you may not be entitled to that lawyer. And so just want to clarify that because I don't think I did a very good job on that. So, yeah. Okay. Okay. So we kind of talked about, right, if ICE or law enforcement shows up at your home, but obviously, again, you may encounter them on the street, right? And so what kind of are your obligations or rights there? Again, kind of similar in some ways, right? When we talked about the stop and identify laws, that only applies, again, if they have some kind of reasonable suspicion or probable cause to believe that you may have committed a criminal offense, right? Again, thinking about Colorado law enforcement. So before you even say anything, you can ask them, am I free to go? If you are free to go, that means you're not being detained, which means they may not believe that they have enough information, right, to believe that you committed some kind of criminal offense. So at that point, you don't even need to provide your name or your ID. So if they say yes, you can be like, okay, thank you, bye, right? Be very clear that you're walking away, don't linger, get out of there. If they say no, right, you are being detained, at that point, again, they have the ability, you would need to provide your name and your birth date or your ID for them. But again, at that point, it's nice to have that clarification because, again, certain protections down the road, legal standards, are determinative based on whether or not you were in detention, right? If you were detained at the time of that questioning. And so it's helpful to have that documented, and we'll get to body-worn cameras, but yeah, that's important. Again, though, no more, don't say anything past that. Give them your name, give them your contact information, give them your birth date. And then after that, if they have more questions, they can continue to ask you questions and you can continue to say, I do not want to answer those questions. Again, I think ironically, you need to out loud assert your right to remain silent. There is, I think, ambiguous bad law that says if someone has not explicitly stated they are exercising their right to remain silent and say something mildly incriminating, right, despite multiple questions from officers, that can then eventually down the road be used against them. So You want to say it out loud, which feels weird. And again, just remember to remain calm to the extent that you can, otherwise you may have more charges. Okay. Actually, just going back again, if you're on the street or at work and you again are being stopped or contacted by ICE, again, they can ask you for those documents and you need to provide them if you have them on you. If you don't have them on you, you do still need to identify yourself. But again, at that point, you can assert that you do not want to make any additional statements. You do not have to say where you are from, what you are doing in the United States, why you are there, any of that, because obviously they will attempt to ask that. Okay. If you're in your car, one thing I want to say about cars are like, to me, the most annoying part of the law. In a criminal context, tons of exceptions, tons of different rules, a lot of nuance. So again, this part is about protecting your safety, knowing broadly your rights. There's going to be a ton of nuance related to cars and car searches and all that kind of stuff. So at the end of the day, right, obviously you want to pull over. If you flee, it's a felony in Colorado, so don't do that. You want to put your hands on the steering wheel so they can see them. Roll your window down, right? If your window is not rolled down, you may be able to have a conversation with them through the window, but it often puts officers on high alert, has been my experience. And so it may be helpful. Again, you don't have to roll it all the way down to where they can see every little thing inside your car, but rolling it down a bit just to make that communication clear can be helpful. And remaining calm, easier said than done. So do keep that in mind. And they are able to ask for car registration, driver's license, and insurance, and you must provide them. Again, if you don't have them, obviously you can't provide them. That could be an offense, right? But they are entitled to ask those things if they're conducting a traffic stop. And beyond that, you do not have to provide them any information. Remain silent, right? Kind of to beat a dead horse. And again, don't give false information. That used to be a felony in Colorado, which was pretty wild. Now they're mostly misdemeanors, but again, they will charge and arrest you for providing false information. So just keep that in mind. And like with searching of the home, if they ask to search your car and you don't either respond that you don't give them permission, or something along those lines, there may be kind of implicit permission given to them, but down the road the law says, well, you didn't say that you didn't consent, so we're going to think that you were fine with it. So you want to again emphasize, I'm not giving you consent to search my car. They may still do it, right? But again, ideally there are some legal remedies down the road if it results in an arrest or something along those lines. But continue to say you do not allow the search, you don't consent to the search, they don't have permission. And I would say do that as well if they go to a new kind of area of your vehicle. Have they opened the trunk now? I don't consent to you searching my trunk. I don't consent to you searching the items in my trunk, right? Because again, a lot of the car law, I think, is annoying. So it's nice to have on record when someone's not consenting to anything. So yeah, I would just say, right, I think cars too, a lot of traffic stops obviously can result in some bad things. So remaining calm to the, again, extent that you can, ideally will protect you. Okay, so you always have, again, the right to remain silent, as you all now know. We do have some Know Your Rights cards. We have two different ones. So we have a red card. This kind of, again, plainly states some of the rights we've talked about: the right to remain silent, right, the right to have a lawyer, the right to be free from search and seizure, some of those things. So those are on that red card, both in English and Spanish. We should be able to provide each of you one. If you know other individuals who may be interested in learning more about that information, you can refer them to SLS. We have them. You can provide them to them. We just do it quick, make sure they don't have any questions about it. They understand what's on it, right? So they know what they're asserting when they hold it up. And then, yeah, so we'll have those. And then SLS has just a general like reminder, like, hey, you have rights. Come see us if you want to talk about them, kind of card as well. So Kenny is passing out some of those. But yeah, so you can, if you're again like me, a panicker, and you're like, I'm not going to say the right thing, hold up the card, right? The officer at that point then should know right, that you're asserting your right to remain silent. You just want it to be as unambiguous as possible. Anything you say can be used against you, and it will, right? Again, that was my experience as a criminal defense attorney. And to be frank, most people don't know what the definition of the law is that they're allegedly breaking. So things can be much broader than our general conception. And so it's important, again, to not even attempt to help yourself, I think, in those situations. Silence is way better. And then ideally you can address it down the road. Again, for an immigration kind of purpose, you want to have your identification or immigration papers. Or again, because you can be required to show your ID, even if you're a citizen, you want to have your ID on you to the extent that you have one. And again, you never want to be providing false information because that will ultimately allow them to arrest you if they didn't have the ability before. And again, if you're being arrested for a criminal offense, you will have the right to have an attorney be appointed to you. And you would ideally go before a bond judge. Not ideally, you will within 48 hours, right? And that'll probably be at the point at which you have kind of an attorney talking to you by that point. We're not going to run or fight, and you don't have to sign anything. So signatures are considered kind of statements along those lines too. So you're not required to sign anything. Just so you know, and maybe you know people who have gotten a summons or a ticket, right? And you're asked to sign. You don't have to. What that form, just so you all know, is saying is that you have notice of a court date. It's not saying you're admitting guilt to anything. So largely, you can feel comfortable signing those. But if you don't, we'll just hand it to you and say, well, you still have court on February 3rd, right? See you there. But you do not have to sign anything that's provided to you. And again, I think that's really important in an immigration context. Okay. I guess one thing to touch on before kind of just getting towards the very end here. This presentation doesn't cover those other legal remedies I've referenced if your rights are violated, right? Those will be very circumstantial, depend on the context. It's not an easy thing to address just offhand because so much will depend on what your case is about, what occurred specifically, right? Who said what information was presented to you, essentially a ton of different things. And so one thing just to be mindful of though, even if your rights are violated, it does not necessarily mean your case is dismissed. So that's kind of something that people say a lot. They didn't read my Miranda rights. The case needs to be thrown out. No, it won't be, right? So that's why remaining silent, asserting the rights you do know you have up front is important because hopefully they won't push you on those things. You can at least walk away knowing you protected your rights even if someone else wasn't. Okay. Just in terms of video, things like that, you do have the ability to pull out the camera and video and interaction. You can't interfere. So obviously you can't be right up in anyone's face, impeding them and their ability to effectuate an arrest, things along those lines, right? You're going to be staying at a safe distance, but you do have the ability to do that. One thing I will say in Colorado, at this point, every law enforcement agency that is a Colorado law enforcement agency should have body-worn cameras. So they should be on, they should be recording. Doesn't hurt for you to also be recording. But just so you are aware when you are having these interactions, that's why it's important to say things out loud. I don't consent to this. No, I do not want to make any statements, right? Because now ideally those are also being captured on body camera. And if a body camera is not on, again, there may be other legal remedies down the road in your case. But it is important, again, to say those things out loud for that reason. And again, you don't need to hide the fact that you're doing that. Obviously, it may not make people very happy who are being recorded, but you have the right to do that, again, just not interfering with what is actually occurring. And you don't want to be engaging in what's happening, right? You don't need to be in a call and response with the officer if you're not the one being arrested, okay? So keeping those things in mind. And again, they can't just like take your phone and delete everything or demand that everything be deleted. So just be mindful of that if you have recorded something. Yeah. Okay. That was kind of long, right? Questions, if any.
I'm
I'm gonna say it depends. Just so you guys know, it's gonna be it depends every time.
Okay. In my car, I get pulled over, who knows for what, and I just give them the silent treatment and give them the crazy eyes. Can they do anything with that? Are they gonna arrest me on the spot? Or not on the spot?
Again, they can ask for your ID, registration, insurance. If there's a traffic stop, presumably they have some reason for why they have stopped you, and so that will justify their request, right? And we all know about pre-10 stops, things along those lines, but that assessment cannot probably be done in that moment, right? So yes, I would say if you're just giving them the silent treatment, then they can say that you have disobeyed a lawful order. And yes, I think it's a traffic misdemeanor to do that, but still an arrestable offense.
Do they have to tell me why they're pulling me over? If I say I don't know why you're pulling me over?
They don't have to, no, they can. And down the road, they may change why they have in a report or something like that. So it doesn't hurt to ask, right? I don't think they're required to tell you. I'm not aware of any Colorado law that requires that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, takes a second. Okay, I just want to, for students to hear this as well, clarify that they can basically make up any reason to talk to you in your car, right? Like your car's too nice, your car's too crappy, your car's going too fast, you're going too slow. It's suspicious.
What I would say is there are a lot of traffic laws, right? It's very easy to break a traffic law. You could have an obstructed windshield because you have a dangly thing, right? You could have a taillight that they're saying is out, maybe out, right? Like there are so many ways to violate the traffic code that generally it's hard to say a stop is not justified. And so again, those of us in the defense world might say that was a pretextual stop. That was just them looking for information. But at the end of the day, in court, we often lose those arguments because the traffic code is huge and it is very easy to violate a traffic code or again, a lot of it relies on, testimony is evidence, right? Eyewitness testimony is evidence. So if the officer says they saw something, that may justify that, right? And so, yes, I would say logistically, it's very easy to get pulled over and to have that stop justified. So that's why, again, staying calm, staying quiet is important because down the road, if there's some debate about that, you saying less is better.
This is probably a Googleable answer, but what's the difference between a judge and a magistrate?
Great. Honestly, I'm still figuring it out.
I don't know the actual.
So a judge will have authority in district court and will generally, there's two kind of rules governing the authority of a magistrate and the authority of a judge. A judge can sit in a district court, a magistrate, for example, cannot. So there's limited roles of magistrates, but Colorado law provides magistrates the ability, for example, to make probable cause determinations and sign warrants. Oftentimes, again, it's just around kind of what jurisdiction they have to oversee cases. So magistrates are usually going to be doing things like small claims, maybe juvenile court, right? Some of those things based on the authority Colorado's given them, but they are not able to sit in a district court, which is where in Colorado you hear felonies. But to be honest, like, yeah, I don't have like a good way to summarize it. I've never really been good at that. So, oh yeah.
Thank you first of all for being here. This is really important during this time. My question is if we are witnessing an event like this happening, other than recording, is there anything that we can do with our safety in mind, but also to help protect other people?
I think, again, if it's not directly involving you and it's just something you're a witness to, again, you want to be cautious, again, like I said, for your safety. If you have a recording, though, or something along those lines, this is one thing I've always struggled with, is like, I wish people could get that information to me as a defense attorney, right? And have that information. But if that's a stranger to you, you may not know how to do that. Any citizen has the ability to write into their newspaper, right? To publish that information that they've witnessed, right? Or things along those lines. You want to make sure you're sticking to the facts, right? You don't want to be kind of, again, exaggerating or changing things. But yeah, I think kind of just using your voice as a regular citizen is kind of the best. I think a legal proceeding side of things is hard unless you happen to know that person and know their attorney, and maybe provide that information to their attorney, be a witness for their case, those kinds of things. But again, if it's a stranger, you may not always have that ability. So
Find them on the county jail website.
you can, again, if you have some context for who this person may be, there are usually like arrest times, but again, booking times may be different than when you want to get arrested because you have to go get medically cleared, right? All these different kinds of things can affect your ability to know exactly. But if you have some, or you know, a friend of a friend who also, right, if you can figure out who they are, because that can often be difficult. If you think they may be represented by the public defender's office, you can always reach out to them. They may be able to figure out who it is. But yeah, I would say either be a part of the legal process if you know who they are and are willing to share that information, or just kind of use your voice as a citizen and bring light to it. Lauren?
Is there a version of like this set of slides or another one that we could send out to our constituencies?
Yeah, so this should be posted actually to as well on the SLS website already, both in English and Spanish. Penny has also been doing some sessions in Spanish regarding this. But yes, I believe either that's downloadable from our website or Madeline has a copy and can share. And then the Spanish version is already on our website as well, so we can send it over. Nevaeh?
Okay, first of all, have we met? How do you know my name?
It's on.
Oh, so it is.
And Nevaeh is one of my favorite names, actually. It's my friend.
Oh, thank you. Is any form of like non-consensual touching from a police officer count as brutality? Like if they grab my arm, for instance, and I don't want to be touched.
That's going to be really fact dependent. So I would say, again, that's one of those annoying legal answers where it's going to be it depends, right? Obviously, they have at times the ability to frisk, right? If they think that there may be a weapon, if they're right, probable cause to believe that they see a bulge in your pocket, they think it looks like a gun, right? Or whatever it may be, they have the ability to frisk and things like that. If they're physically taking you into arrest, obviously they are able to kind of have physical contact. There are certain policies depending on law enforcement agency where you can request. So, for example, I identify as a woman. I would like a female officer to be here with me, or something along those lines. Again, going to be very law enforcement department specific as to whether or not those policies are in place. But if that's kind of the concern, maybe potentially requesting things like that, or if you think it may just give everyone a moment to like take a step down, right, and put some space and be like, let's wait for this other person to come, something like that. But yeah, I would say like what turns into police brutality versus not is going to be a very fact dependent situation. So there's not like a good answer for that. Diana?
Hi, I would also like to express gratitude for you being here. My question was, per the responsibilities of the Office of Student Legal Services, if a CSU student encounters a situation of this kind, does that student have access to support from your office? And if so, what exactly does that entail?
Yeah, so absolutely. So right, obviously student legal services, we are fee funded. So every student has already, as long as they've paid fees, are fee funded or have already paid for our services, right? And can come see us. So if something like this has happened and now they either have a criminal process or just some interaction like this has happened and they want a debrief and be like, do I have legal recourse? Like what are my options here? Yes, we absolutely are here. Have appointments available, very frequently, so they could definitely get something scheduled quickly. We do not do direct representation, right, as our office. So we cannot go to court with an individual. Does not mean we either can't refer them to other attorneys who would be able to do that or guide them through that process. So yes, thanks for kind of bringing up that question. But yeah, absolutely. If you know anyone who is like encountering this, has questions about this, or just broadly going to know your right stuff, right? Like that's what our office is there for, is to help kind of have those conversations and provide any help or education that we can. Yeah, absolutely.
Next slide.
That's us. Micah.
Okay, so I was pulled over for a traffic stop in
like June or July, and like immediately after like I rolled down my window, like the cop came over. He asked like for me to open my back window, my back seat, and I was like, okay, but could I have said no? I could have said no.
Yeah. Again, knowing very limited factual information, everything in the criminal law is very fact specific, right? I don't know what this officer was basing that request on. I don't have reports, I don't have any of that information, but I do not believe that you would have necessarily had to have done that with the limited information I have. And again, if you have a question, I think, I think they're probably looking to see if there's anything in your backseat, but I don't know that information because I don't have the full reports for your case. So, disclaimer. But yes, I don't think you necessarily would have had to have done it.
Okay, thank you.
What's your name?
Hi, thank you so much for being here. This is maybe one of those, it depends, but in the event that I'm given the warrant, how do I verify that it's a legitimate judge or magistrate signature? Is there a way to do that, or is it trust?
I think if it says magistrate and it is in judge or judge and it has a signature, unless I can't think of any law enforcement officer that would, a legitimate law enforcement officer that would come to the door with a forged warrant, to be frank. But again, um, you can generally look them up online. Their names and information are usually available. So if you have a moment, you can quickly Google their name and see what pops up. But ideally, would not be encountering any forged warrants. But good question.
Okay, I have like a few clarifying questions. So,
Absolutely.
is ICE allowed on our campus?
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's nice because again, I'm still new to campus, so I'm learning.
Hi, I'm Penny Gonzalez Soto. I use she, her, aya pronouns, and I serve as the Director of Student Legal Services. You are asking a university question. It is not within our realm to make those decisions. The president today signed or made orders, like I don't know what it is, issued orders. As you can tell, it's been a busy couple of days. That ICE now go into sensitive areas, which includes church and school, right? That is a question that I don't believe CSU has an answer to yet as to what will happen if that happens. Those are situations where it is unlikely that CSU or that ICE just shows up in the plaza, right? They're going to go through whatever avenues that they have to go through to be on campus, like any other entity that comes onto campus, right? So we don't have that answer. That's a question for the university that I don't have, and I don't know that because that order was this morning.
I will point out this is off the school topic, but Colorado law does say that ICE cannot be at courthouses or stopping individuals on their way to or from court. That is still in effect. Again, how executive orders will affect that down the road, right? Some of these laws may be changing down the road. There's been internal Colorado legislation to try to undo some of those protections, but at least for courthouses, I don't know if they're considered sensitive areas in our schools and churches, but
yeah. I know it's been a rough couple of days for all of us, very honestly, and there is change nonstop, and it's likely to continue that way for several days, if not weeks. We're doing the best as the university is doing their best to try to keep up, to figure out what's going to happen, how to give guidance to everybody on campus. And so I know that isn't the answer that you want, but we just don't have answers yet. Sure.
If I've been open about my undocumented status and there's like a paper record about it, can I be deported?
So your question is, can ICE get a hold of that information? Is that what your question is?
Yeah.
There are lots of privacy rules related to college information. including FERPA, right? So will ICE get access to that? We don't know the answers to that yet. Can you be deported solely for the fact that somebody else knows your information? Individuals are placed into removal or deportation proceedings based on information that they have. You entered on a certain date, you entered without lawful status, you're not a U.S. citizen, and then those charges in a court, an immigration court, have to be proven, right? It doesn't exist today, a rule or order that says somebody can be picked up in Colorado and removed from the United States. If you're within 100 miles of the border, you can be picked up and removed from the United States. Expedited removal is something that Trump in his first term put into place. Expedited removals means within the United States, if ICE encounters you and you have been in the United States for less than 2 years, right? So you'd have to be able to prove pretty quickly that you've been here for at least 2 years. Then you have some additional protections of going through an immigration process. We as immigration attorneys believe that's going to happen. It's coming down the road. It just has not happened in the past couple of days. Okay. So today's presentation, Allison, you did a great job. Thank you very much. Is really to give you some tools to think about how to keep yourself safe. There's 2 attorneys in SLS, myself and Haley Dunn, who do immigration law. So if you're looking to figure out some immigration questions, folks who have some immigration questions, definitely contact Student Legal Services at our website or call us. We're in 274 here in the LSC, and we can set up time to talk about your immigration status.
And obviously, as attorneys, protected by attorney-client privilege, confidential information. So,
and we are right now being very clear with students about that attorney-client privilege and how that potentially could be waived, which means you bringing in a third person, even related to you, into your appointment, because although we would not tell anybody your information, somebody can go to that individual to get information. Also, talking about what you spoke about in that appointment with somebody else after your appointment potentially waives that privilege. You as the client, and you're our clients as our students who are fee paying, hold that privilege. So if you protect it, they'll never get it out of us. But other folks may be able to provide that information to other people. And so we're starting to really talk to students about that as well when you come into our appointments. Okay, we'll let you get y'all back to work. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you for being something.
The Senate will now move into executive reports. Do you have anybody in executive who wants to speak tonight?
Hello, everybody. My name is Ava. I'm the Director of Governmental Affairs. Actually following that, but something kind of very similar. We know this is obviously a really tumultuous time, and as your governmental affairs team and executive, we're really trying to plug into the local and the state government, just like SLS said, to really keep up with everything that's happening and try to provide students with all the resources that we can. That being said, Manny, one of my deputies, I'm sure you guys have seen him. If you have not, he's amazing. But he works with the Colorado Immigration Resources, CIRC, and they are hosting Know Your Rights trainings that we will also be putting on for the larger student body. If you have anything else that you want to be included, I know there is quite literally hundreds of executive orders coming down the pipes that are impacting every single aspect. Please come and talk to me or Manny. We want to make these informational meetings as comprehensive as we can. So please come to me if you want anything specific in those, and I will reach out with more information after we schedule those. But I would love to be able to market that to as many students because we know this is impacting a large amount of students on campus. Um, so yeah, on a lighter note, we have also been meeting with JBC members. So Colorado has a joint budget commission that makes the budget every year. It's 6 members of the state. We've been meeting with them to talk about trying to keep tuition as low as possible. So in Colorado, the governor proposes tuition caps every year that are adjusted to inflation. This year it would be a 2.6 increase for out of state and a 2.3 increase for in state. We are then working with the JVC to try to keep that number as low as possible. Obviously, the university wants to raise that. We are in a budget shortfall. So we're trying to make sure that tuition does not jump up next year. So we're having a lot of hard conversations with legislators trying to figure that out and be like, if tuition increases by 5%, that's thousands of dollars for students, and that's quite frankly unaffordable for a lot of us. So we're working really hard on that too. But yes, please come to me if you need any resources. I want to be there to support you. And if you want specific contact with legislators, we will also be organizing a day where we go and testify on specific legislation. Right now, that is we're working on a lot of logistics for that. But I'm also super excited about that and to directly talk to legislators about our experiences and what their legislation means to students. So I will come back with more specific information about that day. But yes, please let me know how I can best support you. Thank you.
Hi friends, welcome back for spring semester. I hope classes are treating you well and I hope that you're not too cold. My name is Jakai Nunley. I serve as the Chief of Staff for the Executive Branch. And I have a few reports of what's happening for me and the Executive Branch for spring semester. Starting with, we have the WD-40 team, is what I call the team of interns, and now the executive assistant who are intermingled with the chief of staff office happenings. But that team of people is Andrew White, Isaac Ben Braber, and Ben Robber, and Caleb McElroy. Awesome team of people, and they're all helping me spearhead some of the great efforts that are coming out of the chief of staff office this year. They've truly made the team more efficient. So just highlighting them because they're dope. And you might have received an email from one of them today, Andrew White. I'm going to get into that. It is for the Spring Involvement Expo. That'll be in the ballrooms upstairs February 6th. ASCSU is going to table from 10 to 2. So if you would like to sign up for that, it's a great time to get our name out there and just be front facing the students. And then maybe you guys could talk to your great legislative cabinet about that being one of your hours. I don't know if you guys do that or if you do that. I don't know if you have like required mandatory hours or anything, but if you do, maybe that could be a nice opportunity for that. Anyway,
That could count as that, yes.
boom! Look at that. We just talked that up right now. Cheers to me. All right. So that's happening. That should be in your email. If it's not, let me know and I'll send you the email. Andrew may not have everybody in this room's email just yet, but he will soon. So that's that. Our ASCSU open house is this Friday. That is 124 from 12 to 5. So if you have any availability from 12 to 5, we would appreciate if you could be here in the house for students so they can show up and kind of ask you about your work, what you do, and what ASCSU is. A lot of people don't know what ASCSU is, and we're confined in this bubble, so we think everybody might know what it is, but it's really just us. So this year or this Friday, we've invited a bunch of student groups, a bunch of our cultural resource centers. Well, not a bunch, all of them. And we've invited just a large mass audience on campus to come and speak with all of you about the great work that you do because students simply don't know. And I would love for them to know you do all the great things. That is that. I'm so sorry, guys. Every time I come up here, it's a few things. I have recently started the like a weekly newsletter for the executive cabinet, and it's kind of things that are specific to executive cabinet. There are opportunities and things that do funnel through that. If you would like to be on that and like to know more of the information of what is happening direct to exec, feel free to let me know. It's not mandatory. It might just be another email that populates your inbox. If you would like that, you just let me know, and I'll send that to you as well. It's a dope email. I work hard on that every week. Me, Andrew, Isaac, and Caleb work hard on that every week. Sorry, last two things. Okay. ASCSU State of the Association address. Was anybody here last year for ASCSU State of the Association address? It was live, it was lit, but this year we're going bigger. It's gonna be great. It'll be hosted in the Michael Smith Alumni Center. This event is meant to mock the State of the Union address that our full, like, large scale government does. The good thing about how we're doing it this year is that one, RSVPs are live, and I believe that was not in the weekly newsletter. It will be next week, and I can send you RSVPs if needed. If you would like to sign up to do a speech at the State of the Association address, I also have a link where anybody can upload like just an intent to speak. You also upload a speech with that, and it gives you like we'll review it, and then we'll say, okay, awesome, you're speaking at State of the Association. It's a nice system, and I think it's going to work differently how opposed to it worked last year. It kind of gives everybody the opportunity to speak to students. And so it'll be a nice audience and you get to come and talk about the work that you've done among yourself and your colleagues this year. And it's a great time. Our guest speaker, oh my God, I did this in cabinet. Can everybody give me a drum roll? This is going to be so fun. Okay, our guest speaker at ASCSU State Association address is Rico Munn. He is the former chief of staff for Amy Parsons. He has since transitioned into the role of Vice President of Denver Strategy and Engagement. So, as we're speaking to the initiatives that we put forth through President DeSalvo's administration, Rico Munn will be speaking to what he got to put forth during his time as the Chief of Staff for the Parsons administration. So, it'll be pretty awesome. I'm super duper excited about it. Please sign up to speak. Would love more voices from legislative represented on the stage on March 5th from 6 to 8:30. You'll get a calendar invite for it, so don't you worry. But we like to do things and say it 7 times before people hear it once. So that's all. And then a big project that I'm working on this semester is in tandem with CHASA, which is the Colorado High School Student Activities Association, and our admissions here at CSU. It's a retention program for students who are in high school and are like juniors, seniors, possibly even sophomores. We're working out some logistics. But students will be able to have the chance come fall next semester to shadow an ASCSU representative for a day and sit in one of these meetings and a cabinet meeting, but it's getting hands-on experience in the field that you would like to go. I just imagine that if I knew what collegiate student government was capable of when I was in high school, I would have prepared differently and I would have took different resources and I would have been in that moment a little bit more. So that's that. Another big thing of that program and why it's going to be so lit is that we're working with CHASA to see if these students can get like some form of accreditation or like a certificate even that they could, put on LinkedIn or a resume that they participated in this leadership program. So that is the Chief of Staff office for spring. We're working. If you have any questions on anything I'm ever doing, feel free to email. And that's all I have for you. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. The Senate will now move into judicial reforms. We do.
Hey, Senate. My name is Morgan Wright. I serve as your Chief Justice. If you don't know me, I hope everyone had a great break. It's cold. It's so cold. My pipes froze in my home and my sink doesn't work. Anyways, I hope your sinks work. I just wanted to get up here and say a few things about the website on the judicial branch. Whenever you clicked on the internal complaint form and the opinion form, it brought you to a 404 page. That's embarrassing. So the wonderful front desk fixed that. So I know you all are dying to click on those links. So if you need to do that, please feel free to. And those links are working now. We will get our office hours sorted pretty soon with all of the justices' times figured out, and that will be posted on the door soon. Please drop in, say hello. Don't be strangers. The court's super cool. And yeah, that's about it.
Hey all, I'm Garrett Lopez. I am the elections manager for this election cycle. And currently I'm working on getting an elections committee together and I have that application out. So I challenge each and every one of you to send it to everybody you can, really, anybody who's interested. Those friends who kind of want to get into ASCSU but don't really want to stay till 9 p.m. here, it's a nice in between. So if you guys have any questions or concerns, let me know. This is the application. It's on the front page of the website.
It's in Teams too.
It's in Teams too, yeah. So please get people to apply. That really helps me, and have them do it as soon as possible so that I can get them interviewed and back here for ratification. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving now to legislative reports beginning with officers. I only have a quick one. I guess one, I should introduce myself to anybody who's new. I know we have a few new folks tonight. My name is Hayden Taylor, and I'm the Speaker of the Senate. The only update I have is that next week we will have the election of the Senate Public Relations Officer, which was established a few months ago. I'll be sending the job description of that in the Teams and in the weekly email, so look for that.
I have a few things for y'all. I put in some work over break. I like to think that I'm doing that to help maybe alleviate some of the work that y'all have to do. You might have seen in this week we have the edited Constitution with all the edits. Right now it's just a document, like a Word doc that shows what each edit has been. I will get it finalized into a cleaner PDF, but I really wanted to make sure that all like the drop-down menus that we had were functional before through like the table of contents. I want to make sure that's fully functional and clean before that goes out. But you do have access to the new Constitution. As of tomorrow, we will be completely caught up with legislation that needed to go out. All of last year's legislation has been sent out over break. We were waiting just a couple signatures right when we got back, but those are ready to go tomorrow too. And then it'll be going out as soon as a signature is received or a veto. So hopefully the Thursday after Senate or the Friday after Senate, worst case scenario, going forward. So we've got a lot of administrative cleanup that's been done. Let's see here. The big one, I have a lot of things to say about the inauguration, but in order to keep remain in decorum, I'm going to keep it really short. Bipartisanship or nonpartisanship is not an acceptable reason for complacency in regard to white supremacy, human rights violations, or flagrant disregard for the Constitution of the United States. I ask you to reread your history books and pay attention to who stays silent, both in the books and now. We've seen this story, we know how it ends. Please let me know if I can be of any support to you and your constituents. I'm probably not the only person here in student government in this room today who was bullied in my youth. Someone once told me that you can't let a bully take your joy. You can't let them take your spark, your fire, or your magic. So I just want to remind everybody to stay focused. There's going to be a lot of distractions that are meant to take our joy from us. We need to stay focused because there's a lot of work to do. So we make sure that our fellow Rams aren't getting bullied by our government, literally. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, hello everyone. I'm Graham Kelly. I'm your recruitment and retention officer. You might be asking yourself, Graham, what does that mean? What do you do? Great question. I respond to emails. If people are interested in joining Senate, they email me. I send them a brief general email with a bunch of information in it. If they want to meet past that, great, let's do it. Let's get you in your college council, CRC, whatever. That's what I do. So if people want to join, feel free to email me and I'll help them out, or do it yourself. That's it.
Howdy, Senate. My name is Bertha Reese. I'm this year's Speaker Pro Tem. First and foremost, I want to apologize for the stumbling of the roll call. I miss Sydney. Sydney's amazing. She's our clerk. You people you'll see her next week. She's amazing. Make sure to say hi. Secondly, new people come to the front after session so that I can give you my phone number and make sure that we're all set up to get you an onboarding meeting in the upcoming couple weeks. Moreover, strikes are going to exist this semester. Oh yeah. Yeah, perfect, perfect. If you have received one or more strikes for an unexcused absence last semester, you probably received an email from me this past evening. It's a warning. Text me, email me, text Hayden, email Hayden that you're not going to be here, you're not going to be here. Also, additionally, we're going to be recording office hours this semester, so there's probably going to be a form attached to the weekly newsletter, and more details on that to come. Otherwise, welcome back.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Moving on to committee and caucus reports with Chair Felicity.
Okay. Hello everyone. So, to introduce myself, I am Chair Olivia Frisky, and I run the Women in Social Justice Caucus. I haven't set a specific time yet for the caucus because I was kind of figuring out school and work schedule, all that great stuff. But it's gonna be on Mondays, that I know for sure. So please stop by. I will send out a Teams for when I decide on the time. I'll try time next week, see if it works. If it doesn't work, then we'll move it around. I want to put out there that this space is for everyone. That I know that there's a lot of emotions and a lot of anger and a lot of just not good things in the world going on. So if you would like a space that you just want to talk about it, we don't even have to accomplish anything this next time. It's okay. Just show up. If you need to just process emotions, be with people, be in community, this is a wonderful opportunity for that. I also put out there that personally, my doors are always open, whether that's my apartment doors or my non-existent office or however it may be, and my arms are also open for anyone. So if you need anything, I will be there for you, and I will use my privilege the best that I can in order to help anyone. And just, I think to kind of echo what Parliamentarian Hamburg said, is that some of the most radical things that we can do at this time is to focus on joy, and even though that is really difficult, it is a form of resistance. So, love you all, and I know my time. Oh, I got a bookcase too. So don't worry, we got one. So yay! I know my time.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to interject here. I have a motion I would like to make. I would like the motion to add Resolution 5406 with committee edits for its final read in old business. Do I hear a second?
What kind of information? Which resolution?
That is a great question. I recommend you direct that towards a parliamentarian.
Do you yield to me?
I do.
Okay, it's the edits to the resolution about blackface. It was supposed to go onto the agenda and it didn't, but it was sent in the weekly email, and then we were also supposed to add it earlier. I'm not allowed to make that motion, so here we are.
Does that motion have a second?
Second.
Does that motion have any dissent? Okay, seeing none, that will be added to the agenda. And with that, we'll move back to Chair Davis.
Hi, I'm Lauren. I am in charge of Housing Caucus. We will officially be meeting Mondays from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. in the conference room. I got it booked today, so that's great. I'll be so honest, I have been slacking on it over the break, but we're getting there again. So please come on Monday. It's going to be primarily focused on goal setting for the semester, rehashing everything that maybe happened over the break or that we didn't get to do, and really just getting back into the swing of things. So if you're new and you're interested, but you didn't really want to come in the middle of the semester, now is a great time to go. Again, it's Mondays, 11 to 12, and if you can't make it, email me,
I'll add you to the group me. Let me know. Like stop me in the hallway. I yield.
Thank you. Chairman Miller.
Hi, I found a when to meet over break in the University Affairs Teams channel. Please fill it out. We want to have the committee times finalized as soon as possible. So yeah, I would like there to be more than 3 people on there, one being me and one being my vice chair. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Chairman Meyer.
Hi everyone, my name is Mitch. I'm the DEI chair. If I have not had the pleasure to meet you. DEI will be meeting from 2 to 3 on Fridays this semester. If you can make that work, we'd love to have you. I'll probably be there this Friday during the little open house thing anyway. So we can have a quick committee meeting. I don't think we'll have any legislation to talk about, but if you want to come, come. Anyway, I yield.
Chair Snyder.
Hello. Hello, everyone. I'm Morgan. I lead the Accessibility Caucus. Currently, we've got plans. We're going to meet next Friday at 3 in the conference room. It's going to be great. Please go to it. And second, just like to echo what a lot of people have been saying, we are stronger than any sort of fascist government can throw at us. So yeah, keep hope and be there for each other.
Chair Lutz.
Hi everyone, I'm Ellie. I'm the chair of the Internal Affairs Committee and an associate senator for the Warner College of Natural Resources, the best college. We're meeting Fridays 11 to 12. We are meeting this Friday. I know I promised snacks last semester. I will be fulfilling that promise on Friday. I bought 3 bags of candy and 2 boxes of Capri Suns. So I think you should be there. It's going to be a great time. This is not a bribe, but technically maybe could be. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you. Chair Felicity.
I'm so sorry. I forgot to say that I did my first post just now on Instagram for CSU_Women's Caucus. Please go follow it. It's the presentation we just saw. So I yield my time.
Thank you. Moving on to Senator and Associate Senator Reform. Senator Reform.
Hello, everyone. My name is Medea, or Senator Green, if you want to make me feel fancy. I am a senator for the Pride Resource Center. My arms are also always open. I've been told I give great hugs. Another something about Pride. Our Ramsey Community Mentoring Program is open. So if you know anyone who's new to Pride or to CSU, then you can send them my way, and I will get them into a mentoring group. Last thing, I am going to do my best to be at the open house. So if you want to talk about Senate or gay or anything in between, then I would be happy to. I yield my time.
Thank you. And Chair of the Department Fargo. I apologize for skipping you, by the way.
Oh, it's okay, my feelings aren't hurt. So for Student of the Oval Caucus, we will not be meeting this Thursday, but we will be meeting hopefully starting next Thursday. And once I finalize a few more things on my end, the hope is to meet Thursdays from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Yes, also if you guys have any okay, so if you guys have any questions about like helping with like resolutions or things like that, directly related to undocumented students, know that like I am to support you. I know that a couple of you reached out to me over break. I did not respond because it was break. I am back like in office, so I will be responding to like everything this week. So do expect to see that from me. And then also, something that I would like to highlight, especially after like today's presentation and everything, is that I would like to highlight how back in the day, I think that President Tony Frank did send out an email expressing support and extending a helping hand to the undocumented community during a similar time of crisis. So I do believe that it is strange and honestly concerning that will happen inside it. So do with that information as you will. However, those are my current emotions. Yes, I am undocumented. Yes, I am scared. Um, yeah, so if you're gonna tell me to be okay, I know, I hope everything's gonna be okay, but the last thing I do need from people is pity. That's one thing that I do ask for people. Don't pity me. I'm still human. Yes, there's a risk of me getting deported, but it's not the end of the world for me. But yeah, also with my status, I know I've been very open about it, and I'm going to continue being open about it. But I do ask that when it comes to me and my status in any way, shape, or form, if I did not give you consent to share it, please don't share it. Yes. Okay.
Thank you. Chair Davis.
Hey, I'm back, but for Safe Center, so we're just kind of getting back into the swing of things. Super cool update. Our SSB office has doors now, like a door, which is great. So that's just thought I'd let you all know that that is cool. Coming up in February, there's not a lot for January, but in February, we have our annual Sweet Shop event, which is for Valentine's Day. So there is more information coming out about that. They're still trying to figure some things out, but I will let you know. Just keep yourselves updated. Everything is on our Instagram, and there will be new stickers for that. So that's exciting as well. That's kind of all I have for you today. Next week I'll have like more information stuff that I
Thank you. Senator Luna.
Hi friends. I just wanted to make some reminders. So if you utilize the SBC services, make sure that you have already submitted your accommodations request to the SBC website. And also if you're like adding courses, not if you're dropping courses. If you're dropping courses, I don't think it matters. But if you're adding courses, you need to refill out that form for the new professors in order to make sure they get the stuff, but also like it's a good idea to probably like talk to your professors and email them. Everyone already told me to do that. I don't do that, but I would recommend that you do. To be nice. I'm trying to find my list of things that I said I was gonna say. Oh, and then the other thing is that I had a meeting with the faculty council on libraries. And so since the state budget is running out a little bit of deficit, a lot of it of a deficit, we're having to reallocate some stuff in the library's budget. And personally, I don't use enough resources for the library to make an accurate judgment. But they sent me a list of things like that they're possibly cutting. And they want me to like rank which we're most interested in cutting. So I'm gonna send a screenshot of that like in the Teams right now, and then like message me if you have any strong opinions so that I like actually have a formal opinion before like saying something that's probably not right. Also, there is in fact a lot of things going on right now, obviously, and I'm actively writing things. So if you're interested, let me know. I'm also just like trying to look for educational programs and the sorts, just because there's not much information out there, and the few information like you gotta dig. So yeah, I do.
Thank you. Chair Watts.
I thought it was further down the whole list. Hi everyone. I'm now speaking for Warner College Council, where I serve as the outreach officer. If you want to partner, we're looking to partner for events this semester. I'm really trying to get Warner College Council's name out there and kind of rebuild ourselves. So I'm leading a lot of initiatives. But if anyone has any ideas that they would like to see from a college council, let me know. Or if you genuinely just want to do an event together, let me know. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And with nobody else, you had an additional one?
The front desk was really nice to us and bought us a calendar that's currently in the Senate office. So if you want to put your events on it and then other people can look at it and then like go to your events, that is a resource now available to you, just to let you guys know.
I did forget something too.
Go ahead if you want to make an additional.
I also forgot to mention, the Green Gold Books thing is actually happening. We did have one of the pieces of legislation we passed with our bylaw transparency act. So for committees, anyone, any board, any committee, even from elections committee to internal to SFRB, I need everybody's bylaws. I'll send out an official email, but it's going to get published. And also, if you want we want to be involved in the Green and Gold Book, just let me know. We've got some lore to add to it, and I put that out there at the beginning of the year, and we haven't really made any traction. But now we will have all of our documents, the proper edits, everything all together, and so that will be moving forward here really quick. So just let me know if you want to be involved and send me your bylaws.
Point of information. Yep. Do we need bylaws as a caucus? We do.
I will clarification. I don't think that's outlined anywhere, but we are talking to a couple of the different caucus chairs about the likelihood of bylaws needing to be necessary in the future. But as of now, that's not currently in any of the documents, as far as I'm aware, unless Hayden's right and he checks it, and then I never said this. It would be a good thing to do as an opinion too.
Point of whatever. We had this conversation before, and I'm pretty sure we looked, and it wasn't in anywhere. As far as I know.
As far as I'm aware, we looked and we also called Speaker Taylor, and Speaker Taylor agreed.
Oh yeah. Okay, we will look into this, and if we have to, we can submit that opinion to judicial. With that, we'll move into confidence business with 2 hours on the conference block, beginning with the ratification of the Associate Justice.
Hello, everyone. Again, I'm Morgan. If y'all forgot my name, probably not. Chief Justice, and I am elated to introduce to you, finally, Melanie Brousseau. She's economics major. Yes, economics major, and we have J.Lo Ward graduated in December, so we have a vacant seat on the court. And Melanie is the only and best option that we have. And I genuinely can't think of another person more qualified to have a seat on the court than her. Without further ado, Melanie.
Hi everyone. As Morgan said, my name is Melanie. I am a second year here at CSU, but technically in my junior year. I'm a double major with economics and political science, and I'm ecstatic to be here and serve on the court, making sure that we uphold why the court was founded to offer fair and equal treatment for all students for student success. With that said, I am also part of the policy office, and I wanted to give some information for you guys earlier. I got the fortunate ability to stand in the Student Bill of Rights policy revision, to which they did say that CSU does not keep a list of documented people at CSU. So if they were ever to ask to provide a list, they can simply say, we do not have one. They have other means of it, but there's no official formal list of it.
And with that, we'll move into 10 minutes of Q&A. And I will remind you all once again that this candidate has been interviewed, so we don't ask like interview type questions with this. It's a ratification, so we ask kinds of qualification type questions. send form.
We know, something, I don't know, does it have to be a question that is relevant?
Okay, as long as you're remaining in decorum and remembering that it's not an interview vetting process, it's was the process followed.
Point of information, does, like, with decorum, doesn't that exclude all statements that aren't relevant? Yeah, because I wouldn't be.
Technically, according to the Senate bylaws, yes, I believe irrelevant statements are considered non-germane. But what did you have an example?
I don't know what she got in my close friend.
TJ Maxx.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Lima.
Can I ask what you're looking to accomplish in this role, or like what drew you to the role?
Yeah, so I got a excellent pleasure to serve on the elections committee last year, to which I saw the process of looking at the different forms, such as the Constitution, the elections code, and actually making fair and balanced decisions based on factual evidence. As an econ major, that's kind of the basis of why I chose econ as well. And so the court does amazing things as well as everyone else at ASCSU, to which I got to see Morgan, who also served on the elections committee at her time, use her ability of research to take that on at CSU and contribute to the process of the students here.
Thank you.
Do we have any additional questions? Seeing none, you can take a step outside. We will begin 10 minutes of discussion and debate with Chair Snyder.
This candidate seems to probably quote Sarah Menanti, this candidate has good vibes, so I motion to approve this question.
Do I see any dissent to that motion? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into voting. Chair Snyder.
Motion to approve this candidate with unanimous consent.
Do I see any dissent to that motion? Seeing none, this candidate is approved with unanimous consent.
All right, I state your name.
I, Melanie Russo,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to defend and uphold
to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution
set forth by the Constitution
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
and will rightfully perform
and will rightfully perform
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
The Senate will now move into the ratification of the Deputy Director of Graphic Design.
Hi friends, I'm back this time with much more exciting news. All right, today I'm going to introduce you to, wait, no, I'm not going to do the introduction. I'm just going to talk about why, and then you do the introduction because you're so dope and dynamic. Our friend here, I'm gonna leave the name out and tell you those because it's pretty cool. When searching for a new director or not a new director, but to fill the new position for Deputy Director of Graphic Design, we were looking for somebody highly capable, motivated, talented, driven, skilled, and you know what? Versed in Canva. And what's the other one? An Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator. And on the way, we found blank. I'm not gonna say his name yet because he is. Anyway, I'm introducing you to our highly skilled new deputy director of graphic design. We're hoping you'll have the same interest and love that we do for our friend. Tell them about you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Evan Judd. I'm a third year student here at CSU. I study graphic design and marketing. And yeah, I was kind of drawn to this role. I've always kind of been looking for, I've always been like passionate about the area of, art direction, creative direction. So graphic design has always kind of been my thing. I do graphic design here at the LSC. So some of the screens and stuff you'll see around here, some of the stuff that our team does. And then when I saw this role open up for ASCSU, I jumped right on that because it's really right up my alley. It's been great to meet this amazing team and everything like that. And yeah, they do great work, and I'm excited to let my passion be a part of that. So yeah.
Excellent. We can move into 10 minutes of Q&A. Chair Davis.
This is just out of like curiosity, but do you have any new like graphic design ideas or like improvements that you want to make already?
Yeah, I mean, just in general, like for a marketing team, like stuff that will come in, I think I think with design is cool because you can kind of bring your own style into it. But I know we just kind of started working on like the rail jam promotion stuff and just bringing in just different style and different like dynamic artwork. I think is important.
Okay, fun. I do.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Okay, you can step outside. We will begin 10 minutes of discussion and debate with the first grade placard. Chair Snyder.
All right. Yeah, this candidate seems good. Motion to approve this question.
Do I see any dissent to that motion? Seeing none, we'll move into voting. Chair Snyder.
Motion to approve this candidate with unanimous consent.
Do I see any dissent to that motion? Seeing none, this candidate is approved with unanimous consent.
Okay, please repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Evan Judd,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to defend, to defend and uphold the rules and regulations
to defend and uphold the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution
set forth by the Constitution
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
and will rightfully perform the duties of my office
and will rightfully perform the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We will now move into old business with resolution 5406, I believe. Oh.
Where's going?
Do we need one? Like,
I mean, I guess
this is old business, isn't it? It's just
Yeah.
like, you don't even need to, like, what's that need to accept others?
do we even have it? It seems like
Okay, did committees make edits to this legislation?
No. Actually, I didn't read it beforehand. I just found it.
Did any committee make any edits to this? Okay.
There's grammar, but that's it. There's no real edits to the content of this legislation.
Okay, do you accept the edits?
I do.
Okay. Then we can move into 10 minutes of discussion and debate on this legislation. Discussion, debate, no, okay. Seeing none, we'll move into voting on this, which by the bylaws is supposed to be a secret ballot vote. So unless somebody makes a motion to Chair Davis.
Motion to use.
Does that motion have a second?
Second.
Will Sandy dissent to that motion? Okay, we'll use a placard vote on this. So all those in favor of passing this resolution, please raise your placard. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, with a vote of 23 to 0 to 0, this legislation is approved.
Thank you.
Then, with no new business, we'll move into ending roll call. Chair Snyder.
Motion to use beginning roll call as ending roll call. The senators who came in late just coming up to the front and adding themselves in.
Do I see any dissent to that motion? Seeing none, we'll do that.